The mysterious case. The grand courtroom of New York was buzzing with anticipation. The case in question had drawn public attention, not because of its severity, but because of an unexpected twist. At the center of it all was a 13-year-old black girl named Amira Williams. Amira wasn't supposed to be in court, at least not as a defendant or a witness. She was there because her single mother, Dina Williams, a struggling waitress, had been wrongfully accused of fraud. The case was flimsy, built on circumstantial evidence and technicalities, yet the prosecutor, Vincent Calloway, was relentless. Judge Harold Whitman, an older white man known for his impatience, looked over the courtroom with a tired gaze. He had heard enough of these cases, ones involving the poor fighting an unfair system. To him, this case was just another routine trial. "Let's move this along," he sighed. "Where's the defense attorney?" Dina nervously looked at the empty chair beside her. Her public defender had mysteriously failed to show up. The prosecution smirked, knowing this meant they could push for a default ruling. Then, a small but confident voice echoed through the courtroom. "I'll represent my mother." Laughter turns to shock. The entire courtroom turned toward the source of the voice, Amira. The judge scoffed. "Young lady, this is not a school debate, this is a courtroom. We need an actual lawyer." "With all due respect, Your Honor," Amira replied calmly, "if my mother is being denied proper legal representation, then by law she has the right to defend herself. And if she can do that, then I, as her daughter, can assist her in presenting her case." The courtroom fell silent. Even the seasoned lawyers in the room were stunned by her precise wording. Judge Whitman raised an eyebrow. "And where exactly did you learn that?" Amira folded her arms. "I read the legal codes at the library. I have them memorized." The judge chuckled, but there was a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. "Fine, let's see what you've got." The prosecution smirked. This should be entertaining. Chapter 3. The Smartest Person in the Room. As the trial began, Amira took notes furiously, analyzing every statement made. When the prosecutor confidently presented evidence against her mother, some altered financial records, Amira stood up. "Objection, Your Honor." The judge sighed. "On what grounds?" Amira walked up to the monitor displaying the evidence. "The prosecution's documents rely on timestamps, but they fail to explain how my mother could have committed fraud from 2 different locations at the same time. The timestamps contradict surveillance footage from her workplace, which means—" She turned to the jury. "Someone else altered these records." Murmurs erupted in the courtroom. The prosecutor's face turned red. Judge Whitman adjusted his glasses. "That's actually a good point." But Amira wasn't done. "I also noticed that the witness testimony provided by Mr. Calloway's expert is inconsistent. May I cross-examine?" Now even the judge was intrigued. "Proceed." Exposing the truth, Amira faced the so-called expert witness. She asked precise legal questions, each one poking holes in their story. Finally she asked, "Mr. Davis, you testified that you personally reviewed my mother's accounts. Are you aware that your signature appears on financial statements that were submitted after you left the company?" The witness hesitated. I don't recall." Amira slammed down a printed resignation letter. "Your Honor, this man left the company a month before the documents were created." "He never reviewed them." The jury gasped. The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Calloway, do you have an explanation?" The prosecutor stuttered. I was just presenting the information provided to me." Amira smirked. "Or were you just hoping no one would notice?" The verdict. It took the jury only 15 minutes to deliberate. When they returned, the foreperson stood up. We find the defendant, Dina Williams, not guilty. A cheer erupted in the courtroom. Amira turned to her mother, who had tears in her eyes. "You did it, baby," she whispered. Judge Whitman banged his gavel, silencing the room. He looked at Amira, this time with something he rarely showed: genuine respect. "Young lady," he said, "I misjudged you. You're not just smart, you are brilliant. If you ever want to become a lawyer, I'd be honored to write your recommendation." Amira smiled. "Thank you, Your Honor, but I don't want to be a lawyer." The judge frowned. "No? Then what do you want to be?" She grinned. "A judge." The courtroom erupted in applause. Amira had not only won the case, she had won everyone's respect. The unlikely defendant. The grand courtroom of Jefferson County buzzed with whispers as 14-year-old Maya Thompson stepped inside. Clad in a simple dress and braids neatly tied back, she looked out of place among the suited attorneys and grim-faced officials. She was the youngest person in the room, yet somehow she was the one on trial. At the judge's bench, Judge Ronald Whitaker, an old-school, no-nonsense man in his 60s, sighed impatiently. He had been presiding over cases for decades, and to him this was just another routine hearing. A teenage girl accused of hacking into her school's grading system, open and shut case. "Miss Thompson," Judge Whitaker's voice boomed, "you stand accused of unauthorized access to private systems and tampering with official school records. How do you plead?" Maya stepped forward, her voice steady. "Not guilty, Your Honor." The courtroom murmured. The evidence against her was overwhelming. Security footage showed her using the school's computer lab late at night, and the system logs traced the intrusion back to her student account. Her fate seemed sealed. The arrogant prosecutor? Richard Caldwell. The district attorney smirked as he flipped through his notes. "Your Honor, this is a straightforward case. The defendant, using her advanced computer skills, broke into the school system and altered grades. We have logs, video evidence, and a confession from her principal confirming the breach. Clearly she thought she was too smart to get caught." Judge Whitaker glanced at Maya. "Well, Miss Thompson, do you have anything to say?" Maya took a deep breath. "Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to represent myself." The courtroom gasped. Judge Whitaker frowned. "Represent yourself? Young lady, this isn't a school debate. This is a court of law." "I understand," Maya replied confidently. "But if I'm being accused of being a hacker, I'd like to show you why that doesn't make sense." The defense begins. Judge Whitaker, amused by the girl's boldness, allowed her request. "Very well, proceed." Maya walked over to the evidence screen. "Your Honor, the prosecution claims I hacked the system from the school's computer lab. But let's look at the login timestamp. 11:48 p.m. That's after curfew in my foster home. I was inside my house at that time, confirmed by my guardian's testimony." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Now," Maya continued, "let's analyze the access logs. The system recorded the IP address as belonging to a school network. If I were a real hacker, why would I use a trackable school computer instead of a private VPN or proxy?" Caldwell frowned, shuffling through his notes. "That's circumstantial." Maya smirked. "Then let's talk about the footage. The school's security cameras caught me at the computer, but..." She clicked a remote, zooming in on the footage. "Notice the height of the person in the video. They're at least 6 inches taller than me. And if you enhance the image here..." She paused as the screen displayed a clear frame. "You'll see the real hacker was wearing a hoodie with sleeves covering their hands. Why? To hide something, Like maybe that they weren't me? Turning the case around. The courtroom was dead silent. Judge Whitaker leaned forward, intrigued. Are you saying you were framed? Yes, Your Honor, Maya said firmly. I believe someone used my student account to make it look like I was behind the attack. Caldwell scoffed. Who would do that? Maya turned to the judge. Your Honor, may I call a witness? Judge Whitaker, entertained now, nodded. Proceed. Maya turned toward the audience. I'd like to call Principal Harris to the stand. The principal, a stocky man in his 50s, reluctantly approached. Maya's eyes locked onto him. Mr. Harris, she began, is it true that before the system was hacked, I had the highest GPA in school? Yes, he admitted. And is it also true that after the hacking, my grades mysteriously dropped while certain other students' grades improved? The principal hesitated. Well, yes. Maya stepped closer. And isn't it also true that those students were part of the school's football team, which was at risk of being disqualified due to failing grades? Murmurs filled the courtroom. The judge's expression darkened. Maya delivered the final blow. And isn't it true, Principal Harris, that the school board had recently pressured you to ensure the team remained eligible? The principal stammered, beads of sweat forming. Judge Whitaker narrowed his eyes. Mr. Harris, answer the question. The principal gulped. I didn't know they'd frame Maya. I just told the IT guy to fix the problem. Gasps erupted. The verdict. Caldwell slumped in his chair, defeated. Your Honor, the prosecution withdraws all charges. Judge Whitaker leaned back in his chair, looking at Maya with newfound respect. Miss Thompson, I don't think I've ever seen someone dismantle a case like that, let alone a 14-year-old. Maya smiled. Thank you, Your Honor. The judge rapped his gavel. Case dismissed, and as for you, Mr. Harris, I believe the school board will have some questions of their own. As the crowd erupted in applause, Maya walked out of the courtroom, head held high. She hadn't just proven her innocence, she had outsmarted the entire system. And this was only the beginning.